Creating lists in DaVinci Resolve can be a bit of a pain because you have to add in all the titles, add in all the shapes, and then you have to position them, animate them, and then if you want to go back and make a change or just change the size, you have to go through and adjust each of those so that way the spacing's still perfect. This is a problem that I aim to solve in my new tool WippList from the EditorCollection. This tool lets you put in 15 list items and it handles all of the layout, it handles the animation, and it handles all of the styling. It really does make it as simple as adding in your list items and then just moving it around. It's pretty cool, so let's take a look inside of DaVinci Resolve. Inside of DaVinci Resolve, I really like using the new shift space thing to add it in, so shift space, WippList, and then we can just add that tool right there. We don't need to go searching the effects library. If you want to do that, it's found under the title section, but now right away I get real-time performance of these 5 list items. And this is actually an old version where it says up to 10 lines when it's actually 15 lines. So let's change that. If I click on this, over in the inspector, we get all of the controls, and to change the items on the list, I want to come down to list content, and you can see this is all in one text box. You actually just need to press enter to add in another line. So maybe I'll just type in super easy to use, and you can see it's automatically going to adjust the layout, and it's going to retime the animations so that way they fit within the specified time. And while I'm at it, I'll change this to be up to 15 lines. So there's a few different categories that all the customization for this falls into. So we have the content, we can customize the content, we have the design, and we have the animation. Let's start by talking about all of the content customization. So under list content, we can of course change the what items are on the list, and down here we can change its font, we can change its size, we can even change its alignment. So if we want them all aligned in the center or all the way on the right, using the right align is really good if you want to have all of the bullet points on the right as well. But back to the content, if we come down to bullet content, we can also choose what shows up in those bullets. So by default, it is 1, 2, 3, 4. We can also do that with a period at the end. We can do letters, we can do capital letters, and we can do capital letters with a period. But in addition to that, we also have the ability to just do a circle for like a bullet point. And then we have triangles as well as dashes. Now, usually when I'm using something like triangles, circles, or dashes, I don't like to have the red square behind them. So that's where we get into the style customization. If I come down to the styling tab, we have 3 different categories. So we have the bullets, we have the text, and then the global. So global is gonna cover all of them. So in this case, let's go down to bullet style, and I could just take the bullet shape and set this to be none. So that way we just have the triangles indicating when each of those lines start. For all of these, we have none. We also have outline, so it draws a box where we can set the thickness, the corner radius, and for the shapes, we can also set the size of the shape. So as we bring this up, if they start to overlap, that's when you would want to come up to the list spacing at the top and drag this up just so we give some more room in between each one of those titles. And if you notice when I'm moving these around, it's a little delayed and kind of glitchy when I'm moving it on the screen, but as soon as you let go, it's going to update to what it should be, and then because of that, it's going to result in really fast playback. So it's an okay trade-off, so that way we get that good performance. We can also customize the text style by adding an outline around all of that and being able to, add some extra width, add some corner radius. We can set this to be a fill, so it's just a solid bar. And then we have the global style, which is just going to fill in the background, something to cover all of them, and you can actually layer these on top of each other. So maybe I have the bullet content set to 1, 2, 3, 4. I have the bullet style set to be a fill, and then I have the global style set to fill as well. Now, when doing this, it automatically fits to the size of the text, but you can see after customizations, we don't quite have enough padding after this. It looks just too squished. So the way you can fix that is coming down to the extra width. We can bring this up a little bit, and this is going to extend it in both directions. So you can use the shift content to move it to either the left or right, depending on where you have the graphics laid out. So just like that, we can add in some nice padding, and this looks really nice. We do have the ability to add in a drop shadow, which in this case, it's not going to stand out unless I set it to be a white color. But now we get onto the cool stuff of all of the animation controls. I don't know about you, but this type of animation where it just, one at a time, just a little bit offset, it looks so satisfying. The first one we're going to look at is the Animating. So this has Animating version 4 built into it, so we can do stuff like turn off the out animation, so that way that doesn't turn off. We can change the length of both the animations right up here at the top, or uncheck mirror, so that way we can change the in animation length separate from the out animation length. In this case, I like doing a 2-second animation just so there's a bit more time for all of these to animate on, and we do have this overlap control down here, which is really, really cool. So if I set this to be 0, it's going to animate all of them sequentially, so one at a time within that 2 seconds that we set. If I set this to be 1, it's going to animate all of them at the same time over that 2 seconds. So I like setting this somewhere in the middle so that way we get that slightly staggered animation, and it just looks so satisfying. So that's how you change all the timings of the animation. Underneath animation controls, we can change what that animation actually is. So this animate mode we're going to come back to. First, let's take a look at the distance. So this allows us to choose how far down these go. So as I crank this up, you can see they're going to slide a lot more, and we can use the direction to choose where they're actually going. One thing I like to do is come down to the bottom left and turn on the Fusion overlay. So that way I can grab this position control right up at the top, and I can place this anywhere that I'd like. So maybe you want to put this down in the corner. Let's actually just shift this all the way over and put it on the left side. Bringing my playhead back towards the beginning with the direction, I can make it so it comes from the side of the screen instead of the bottom. So when we hit play, you can see it's kind of coming from the bottom left corner. If you don't want any distance animation, since this is just the default one, we can take the distance slider and bring this all the way down to 0. So right now they're only going to fade on because we have the fade animation turned on. Something I like doing as well is also turning off the fade and then using the zoom option. So this is going to zoom from 0 and that's going to come up. If you want, you could reverse this. You could set this to be 1, so that way they end up zooming down. The one thing when you do set that to be 1, you might notice a little bit of quality loss as they're having to scale up bigger than their original size. So you can combine that with some of the other options to help hide that. So we could have them fade on since you wouldn't want it to start that big. And just doing that already, it makes it look so good. We also have a blur option, and you can change the intensity of this, but this lets you do like a coming into focus or going out of focus type look. The blur one does add a little bit of performance overhead. So if you want the fastest performance, try to sticking with just the distance and just the fade animations, or just the zoom and just the fade animation. But regardless, this tool is set up so it really only has to do the heavy lifting while it's actually animating. Once you get in the middle, no matter how long you make this clip, it's going to render really, really fast. You're just gonna have to worry about the rendering at the beginning and end. But even this, I have 6 list items and it's rendering totally fine. Now let's talk about this animate mode. So sometimes when we're doing a list or talking about list, you wanna have the first item come up and then maybe wait a few seconds and have the second item come up. That's where this comes in. So whenever we set this up, we wanna make sure that the anim engine does not animate out. We want the first item to stay on the screen. We don't want that to disappear. Once you've set that, just set the animate mode to be 1. And now it's only gonna animate the first item of the list on. Then what we can do is wait until we want the second one to show up. We'll just split the clip. We'll want to make this a bit longer. And then we can just set this to animate line 2. And then that one is going to animate on. And we can just keep doing that. Cut and then select the next animate line. And that way they keep showing up on the screen. So as you can see, this is a really cool tool and a really powerful one. If you guys don't already have the editor collection, make sure to pick it up at the link down below. This pack saves you so much time with the 20 other tools in addition to this one. So hopefully this is helpful. If you guys have any questions about it, just let me know and I'll see you in the next one.